Media.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe as we talk about Justin Trudeau, and boy, have we ever talked about Justin Trudeau over the summer. The question arises, as I've always said, is whether or not he'll step down, whether or not the pressure is going to become so astronomical on Justin Trudeau, he's going to have no choice. And while I've been pretty vocal about it, you guys have been vocal in the comments as well, saying that his ego is too strong, that he's not going to step down, that he's going to screw the country as much as possible until the time comes for an election. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, the writing is on the wall that Justin Trudeau's time is coming to an end. We're sharply approaching less than 1 year until Justin Trudeau's time is up. Again, roughly, I know I say it because it's more positive than saying over a year. But hey, one thing we've discussed over the summer is the devastating loss over St. Paul's and whether or not people are going to push within the Liberal caucus to have Justin Trudeau step down. Now, one story I wanted to touch was Liberal MP Pam Demoff saying that she isn't going to run again in the next federal election. This was the first Liberal to step down, and this came back before the summer break. But of course, I wanted to touch on this because it really leads into the writing on the wall as to what's happening with Justin Trudeau. Liberal MP Pam Demoff said she wouldn't run again in the next federal election, saying she's experienced misogyny, disrespectful dialogue in politics, and threats to her life. Demoff says that she's proud of her time in politics. It is no longer for her. It's time to turn the page to a new chapter. She's represented Oakville, North Burlington, a riding west of Toronto since 2015. So again, another Liberal stronghold riding up for grabs. She's announced her plan to exit with a letter posted to her Facebook page. She says the current tone of politics is being driven by a desire for social media clips and likes, a drastic change in how politicians interact with each other in public. She adds that the tenor of political discourse has deteriorated significantly, and she fears that misinformation and lies spread by politicians are unfortunately the toxic drive for social media likes and clips among elected officials has hindered constructive conversations, exacerbated difference between us, and diminished our capacity to show empathy towards each other, she said in a statement. The threats and misogyny I have experienced as a member of parliament are such that I often fear going out in public, and that is not sustainable or healthy way to live. Now, of course, she's talking about toxicity on the internet. She's talking about Twitter. She's talking about YouTube comments. She's talking about emails that she might receive at her office. Why? Well, because her and her virtue signaling party have done nothing but cripple this country over woke politics and massive spending debts. This drives a bigger force when it comes to Justin Trudeau to ask the question of, are you being so toxic in politics that your own politicians can't deal with the heat to stay on? Now, as summer has gone on, we've seen another article. Now, this one comes from the media shill prostitutes over at the CBC, or as I call the Clown Broadcasting Corporation. And again, this came out in July 6th. But it's important to look at because, again, we know about Crystia Freeland's backyard caucus meeting. We know about the rumors speculating that Stephen Guilbeault is trying to prop her up. We see that David Lameddi's seat is up for riding, as well as a Winnipeg seat that, again, is really going to spell a lot out for the Conservatives if we see by-elections. Now, the reason that it's important to note these by-elections is because everybody says, well, Trudeau's not going to step down. He doesn't have the hubris to step down. What we're going to see here is if Liberals go back into the fall session of Parliament and they push Trudeau to resign and he doesn't want to resign, some of these Liberals may step down, which brings on more by-elections, which in turn means more Conservative seats going out before the next election. The writing will be on the wall all over Parliament. Trudeau will have no choice. So again, I understand everybody doesn't want to count their chickens before they hatch, but I'm saying it is a definite possibility that anytime one of these MPs steps down, it just means another possibility for an upset, more turmoil within the party, more MPs pushing for Trudeau to leave, and eventually kicking his bum to the curb. Now, it says here the PM's caucus support hasn't cratered yet, but party sources say he has to prove he has a plan, which, of course, since, again, this was posted July 6th, we've seen he does not have a plan. The email from National Caucus Chair Brenda Shanahan rejects calling for an early in-person Liberal caucus meeting landed in members' inboxes around 5 p.m. on the 4th of July. Citing scheduling logistics, Shanahan officially dismissed public demands from Liberal MPs for an urgent gathering to discuss the fallout from the by-election loss in Toronto St. Paul's. In the words of one Liberal MP, it went over like a fart in church. If you can't even meet with your own caucus, how can you convince a country? The MP said. In addition, to inspiring fragrant smiles, Shanahan's email pointed to another challenge Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his staff face as they attempt to ride out the current wave of caucus interest. Shanahan urged MPs discussing next steps after the by-election loss to respect caucus confidentiality and not leak to the media. Her email was promptly linked to the media. So again, this is where we're saying that these guys are getting fed up. So she's saying to her own party, don't leak anything to the media, don't tell the media, and then they give it to the media. And again, even corporations like CBC are reporting on it. It's doing nothing more than showing that the Liberals are fed up. They're fed up because they're all losing their seats in the next election. Those in Liberal circles arguing against holding a full in-person caucus meeting say it would create such a media spectacle. MPs would gather to vent, express frustration, and point fingers. Well, shouldn't they? It would all get leaked to journalists and fuel a negative news cycle the Liberals are so desperate to avoid because their party's going down like a sinking ship. In the absence of such a meeting, MPs have been phoning or texting reporters to vent, express frustration, and point fingers. Much of it is still getting leaked to the media without the pressure release valve effect as in-person meetings might provide. CBC News has spoken with more than a dozen Liberal MPs, cabinet ministers, political staffers, campaign workers, and organizers in the days since the surprise by-election loss to get a sense of the mood within the party. Again, this is where it's crucial. A dozen Liberal MPs. Imagine if half of them step down in the fall. Half of them. 6 more seats that go to the Conservatives. Justin Trudeau's supporters argue that much of the anonymous agitation that comes from a small group of well-known contrarians who either are not running again or resent being left out of cabinet. They argue a substantial number of Liberal MPs, if not a clear majority, still support Justin Trudeau's leadership and are content to ride this out. Well, the usual suspects, so to speak, you've got your Guilbeaults, you've got your Freelands, you've got, all your other major clowns, Mark Holland, all behind Justin Trudeau. But they've been hinting in their interviews that, it's just word salad, that their feelings may be otherwise. Even some of Prime Minister's harshest internal critics agree with the assessment, but they point to another substantial portion of the caucus, those in the middle who aren't looking for Trudeau to resign, but are looking for some kind of demonstrable change. Those critics argue the Prime Minister has to get the caucus settled before he can work on his connection with voters. Their blunt assessment is that Trudeau can't win over the country if it isn't cleared that he can win over his caucus. That caucus is united in wanting change with multiple Liberal MPs told CBC News that most caucus members seem willing to give the Prime Minister time to demonstrate that change. Again, the reason they're saying that is the same reason they said earlier. If they leak this to the media, it just provides turmoil. It just provides pushback. Now, again, I'm in touch with several Conservative MPs, and I have talked to them over the summer. And again, the consensus is that this is not the case, that there is turmoil within the Liberal Party. And again, they're kind of scrambling like chickens with their heads cut off to figure out what to do. Some Liberal caucus members may not run in the next election if Trudeau remains party leader, a Liberal Party source has told CBC News. Again, if those people step down before the election, we have to have by-elections. This undisclosed Liberal MP believes the Prime Minister's leadership is damaged beyond repair. They say that how Trudeau responds and how quickly he does so will matter a great deal. There are people waiting to see how he reacts, a second MP told CBC News. If the Prime Minister's office waits until September, I don't think it will work out for them. Now, again, that's the important thing to take from this article, and that's the important thing to take when I say that Trudeau risks a fair number of his MPs resigning, stepping down, walking away, because, again, while this article was published in early July, we're now into early August, almost mid-August, and you can see that Trudeau really has done nothing all summer but hide, take his photo ops, and ignore the press at every single turn. We even had the infamous interview where Cian Bexty tracked Justin Trudeau down on a beach, and he just said his caucus is fine, everything's good, he plans to run in the next election. He gave no real answer as to what he was going to do in that election, which probably only angered his caucus even more. I think the writing is on the wall. Justin Trudeau, whether we're waiting for an election or where other MPs will stand down and we'll see more by-elections and more lost seats. Again, we'll be watching the by-election in October to see where that one goes for Lametti's riding, as well as this other one in Winnipeg, Transcona. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think down below. Do you think other MPs are going to resign, that there's going to be more turmoil in the Liberals? Do you think it's going to get to the point where Trudeau has no choice but to step down? Let me know what you guys think down below. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure as you're clicking that subscribe button, you're hitting your bell for notifications. Join me live here on the channel each and every Friday night for our live show, Friday Night Fringe, where myself and my wife, Mrs. Fringe, sit down and chat with you guys about all the cool stuff that went down this week in politics, as well as some back and forth within the community and some friendly banter. It's always great to have you guys in those streams and hear what you have to say outside of making these videos, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you there in those live streams. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and enjoyed this video. I'll catch you on the next one.